Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The European Union, and not only the West in general, I think screwed itself with the war in Ukraine. And it continues to do that, I think, at the orders of three big interests, global interests. Those are banking interest, the energy interest, and the military-industrial complex, mainly in the United States of America's interest. These are the main ones, the main three. Down the list, big pharma comes and other maybe criminals you could call. What do we have here? These guys impose sanctions on Russia, and actually those are self-imposed sanctions. So the sanctions actually hurt the Europeans and the global market more than the Russians. Therefore, what do? You change. You don't continue going the same direction when you over and over you saw that pushing in the same direction it gets worse and worse and worse for you. Now, do you think that the guys in charge of our nations are criminals? So could be just human error because they're just baboons, or just they do it by intent? Because obviously if you impose sanctions on someone who provides you with energy, and then you pay much more than they pay, so you sink at a faster rate that they are sinking, but actually they're not sinking, what do? You cancel the elections. You cancel the sanctions. So the European Union, at the orders of the guys in charge of the United States of America, are shooting themselves in the foot. And I'm going to show you how, as I said many times before, the Europeans will be destroyed by the Americans. The Americans will take over and they will help. So they they tell the Europeans, impose sanctions on Russia. They will affect your economies and your people. And guess who's going to come and help? I will come. Russia will find other markets to distribute its natural gas or oil with all the sanctions. There's a big world out there, and you can start to sanction, but you can't keep everybody in line. So I'm going to show you how Russia and Iran will build a pipeline. So, okay, Europeans, you don't want our natural gas? We're going to sell it to Iran, and we're going to substitute your consumption with Iran's consumption and with China's consumption. These guys are so imbecile. And at one point, Europeans, you're going to go back to caves. And at one point, you're going to call your leaders traitors or criminals, I wonder. At one point, if this is done slowly, then you don't have time to wake up. And the generations will forget that at one point, all this happened. So let me show you. Here, this comes from the New Voice of Ukraine. Russia is exporting gas to Iran. And here is the happy guy. So there's always going to be a market, a need for resources. Why? Without resources, what can you do? Not even jerk off, because you need energy, you need calories to do that, you need food. And I'm quoting, in terms of potential supply volumes, we believe that we should start with small volumes up to 2 billion cubic meters, and eventually it could reach up to 55 billion cubic meters of gas annually to Iran. Is the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin said. Okay, so what happened here? On January 1st, the transit agreement between Russia, Gazprom, and Ukraine's Naftogaz expired. Then the Ukrainians received the order not to renew it. That's the history. Don't let these guys baboon you. Cutting another export route for Russia gas to Europe. The Turk Stream pipeline now remains the only route for gas supplies to EU that was attacked by the Ukrainians at the order of we can't say it. Currently, Gazprom is shifting its focus to Turkey and plans to establish a new gas hub in the country. Gazprom's exports to Europe have decreased by more than 80%. So these guys in Europe are celebrating that they will have less cheap Russian gas and they will have some expensive American liquefied natural gas. No, who does this? People who are, masochistic? Or criminals who do that to their population? I think the second option. So remember, and here you have this one. compared to 2021 levels. In 2024, the company exported only 32 billion cubic meters of gas. 32 billion. And how much will be with Iran? 55 billion cubic meters. So what does that mean? We bypassed you imbeciles. Next one. Russia Today. Putin backs gas pipeline to Iran. The capacity could be up to 55 billion cubic meters per year. Remember, this is what they're doing right now according to these guys. In 2024, only 32 billion, but they will have 55 billion. Now, where is that located? How could that happen? Where is the pipeline? So this is Russia, this is Ukraine, Belarus, the baboons in the Baltic states, baboons in Romania, baboons in Poland. Here is Turkey, this is Iran. So this is not the Russian Federation. These guys will have to go over some of the Caspian Sea. This is the route that will probably be. Because you can't go over Georgia, independent sovereign country. Armenia wants to be bombed because it receives orders from the Brits and the Americans. Azerbaijan could help them. And you have Turkey, who could go either like this or like that, maybe through Azerbaijan. We'll find out. We'll find out. Next one, this is the Caucasus. So you see what's going on. Dagestan here, this is Russia, this is Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Iran. Next one, these guys are celebrating, hurting their nations. Ukrainska Pravda. Poland welcomes termination of Russian gas transit to Europe. And this baboon right here, a pole without a ball, this is Sikorsky. The foreign minister worked for the British newspapers, worked for the Brits, is married with a Jewish, again, journalist, and they are in charge of Poland's foreign policy. How do you say in Poland, congratulations? Pakalaka? Okay, Pakalaka, Poland. Pakalaka, how do you like that one? Hey, Pakalaka. All right, so here it is, my friends. These guys are celebrating their own destruction. But hey, the Poles found something to celebrate. Pakalaka. Poland to cut Russian liquefied natural gas by 80% amid sanctions. So they are celebrating this. And what are they going to do? They're going to buy American liquefied gas, more expensive and more the volume smaller. Why? The Americans can come and send 3,000 ships overnight to Poland, but nevertheless, they are happy about it. Poland, the largest importer of Russian liquefied petroleum gas, will reduce its purchases by approximately 80% this year due to Warsaw's sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine. You guys are fucking yourself up. That's what it is. Next one. Let's see what these guys are doing in the oil industry. Kiev Independent. 65 oil tankers drop anchor after latest U.S. sanctions against Russia, Reuters reports. This is not because the Russians are selling their oil to United States of America. No, the United States of America is like Al Capone with protection in the neighborhood. That's how I call the United States of America Al Capone, because they act the same way, like thugs. The guys in charge of us, the guys democratically elected with their bureaucracy, all right, apparatus. So they say, we impose sanctions on you, but whomever does business with those guys, we're gonna fuck you up. Who does this? Mafia. Mafia, a criminal organization. If you have a problem with him, you do it with that. Not, oh, you're independent, you're a free person with rights given by the creator, but hey, we tell you what to do, and if you do that, even though it's between me and this guy, we're gonna destroy you. Who does that? Is this a friendly country? You want to associate yourself with this kind of friend? No, run as far as you can from these guys. So they are happy about that. And what happens? Let me show you. We're going to go to Wall Street Journal. Natural gas prices soar in Europe after Russia sanctions energy companies. All right? Sanctions on key Polish pipeline could limit Europe's ability to import Russian natural gas if Ukrainian pipes go down. This is from May 12, 2022. So these guys, what did they do? They're going to sanction the Russians. They did. They blew up Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipeline. They will try to blow up, and they will try again to destroy the Turk Stream or a Turk Stream pipeline from Russia, Krasnodar region to Turkey. And they will do what? They will strangle who? Europe. And the Russians will find markets. They are not tapped at one, which is India, China, Iran, the BRICS countries that come together, and these guys will not have access to them. And they will have a dying Europe that they will control. And Europe's living standards, economies, industries are going down and will go down to a point where we'll be dependent on these guys here. And we will be dependent on the guys in charge of us and our elected officials. All right, let me show you something else. I've been yapping around for a long time regarding this issue. Videos 170 regarding Europe. Russia saves the Europeans from tyrannical green transition. That was one. Then US celebrates Europe's destruction. West Russian gas fake narrative. It's clear who sabotaged Nord Stream. NATO collapses if peace pop. This is how they run the Transnistria's genocide and Europe's destruction. This right here. And then you have this one, Ukraine / Zelensky Stein halts Russian gas transit to Europe. How Europeans are hurt by traitors in charge of them. Right here. Go and watch those videos. I'm not going to go again over this. The point is, someone is losing and not changing course. And if I'm losing it, if I'm fighting you and my technique, whatever I'm doing is more detrimental to me than to you, I change tactics. I change the whole thing. Otherwise, in time, I will hit bottom before you do. So that means I'm going to be knocked out before I knock you out. So it just makes sense. But who would want that? Traitors? Criminals? Masters? Let me show you something else. Here, we got this from Oil Price. And this is how this baboon right here made this Svetlana Paraskova. This is how this baboon makes this a title. European gas price soar as Putin says a new Ukraine transit deal is unlikely. So by the title, this woman makes you think that it's Putin who is unlikely to renegotiate a Ukraine transit deal, which is not. It was the Ukrainians who did, and the Russians just reacted and commented. That's Putin comment on the Ukrainians' decision at the orders of Al Capone to hurt Europe more than the Russians. The Russians will find markets. My friends, this is an orchestrated deal to destroy the Europeans. They are Ukrainian nation. I'm not talking about Zelensky Stein. I'm talking about European nation. Ukrainian nation is going to be decimated. Yes. Some Russians will be decimated as well. The Russians will win in Ukraine as of now, and they will probably, the way that things go, will win. In the meantime, Europe will destroy itself, working against its own interest. Who decides the European policy? The European foreign ministers, their elected officials, their bureaucrats, or it comes from far, far away across the Atlantic Ocean. And you don't have to go to the Atlantic Ocean, because those guys over the Atlantic Ocean are owned by the same guys the Europeans are. The problem is they don't own Russia and China and India and Iran and North Korea. That's the problem. That's the problem. If you think it's just because, you know what, poor Ukrainians and Zelensky are democracy and freedom, this is garbage. So, Europe will go down, go back to caves. The Russians will be A-OK. The Americans will be A-OK. The Ukrainians will become a Russian Pasha-Luk or something. And that's it. Maybe these guys are going to activate the Romanians or the Poles or the baboons in the Baltic states to attack Russia. Therefore, and the Brits and the Americans, let's include them over there. The Brits and the Americans will just fight Russia from far away with everybody else. Yeah, you see those movies when you have the mafia guy over there, but he's got the baboons who fight for him, and the good guy comes from the other side to fight them, and he says, you go, okay, and the guy knocks out his guy. Oh, go, you go, you go, and then the good guy gets to them and say, okay, peace now. That's exactly what's going to happen when these guys in charge of the United States of America and Great Britain, these are the main actors, will have no more baboons to die for them. They will say, hey, why don't we talk to Russia? Hey, das Nazdorovia and das Vidania, the Russian. Thank you very much. We're friends. We always loved you. After everything is in ruin. And then guess what's going to come to? Reconstruct, rebuild what they destroyed by having the Russians destroyed their freedom, democracy, and our values. So, my friends, you are going down. We all are going down. Why? Are those guys criminals? Are those guys traitors? Are those guys just a human error? I don't think that's a human error. I think it's an orchestrated move to enrich certain interests. And those interests will be A-OK. Why? When destruction occurs, you come and you reconstruct, you rebuild. Why? The politicians that you helped be in place will give you the project. We'll just assign you. You're the best in this one. And you're too big to fall if you run on a deficit. Like General Motors, remember 2008? I have a problem with that, big problem. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart. And the banks in 2008, and not only the banks, the invest in Goldman Sachs and all that. Too big to fall. Really? That should have wake these guys up if they didn't get up in 2001 in September. And if that, they have to go back, man. They have to remember. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.